So we're on Daf Yud Beis, about 15 lines down or so, 20. Maybe a chart might be helpful in the beginning. There's a concept called miyun. We had this already in the beginning of the Masechta on the first Mishnah, and that's the little background. There's such a thing called miyun, which means that if a girl gets married without her father, that if her father marries her off, so then that's kedushin d'oraisa. But if it's not the father, it's on her own, or the brothers, the mother, so then it's only kedushin d'rabbanan as long as she's a ketana. And if she wants to absolve that marriage, she just says, I don't want. And that's called miyun. The word miyun means to refuse, and she doesn't need a get, and the marriage is over. Not only is the marriage over, it's also retroactive, that it was never considered a marriage. The whole thing is drabanan, and when she says she doesn't want, so then the marriage retroactively was nothing, even on a drabanan level. The whole thing is retroactively absolved. Interesting point. In a regular case, nothing to do with yibum. If there was, I tried to make a small woman, a small diagram to show that she's a ketana. The point of miyun is always that she's a ketana, she's below age, and it's drabanan. So that's what the diagram was going to mean. Sometimes I messed it up. I made it too big, but that's what I mean to mean. That
should give them freckles.
And this line here would mean that miyun. She broke it with miyun. She broke the marriage. He was a man. He was married to a ketana, married to a minor, and she's only kedushin drabanan. And she broke it. She said, I want out. And therefore, it's not a marriage. And interestingly enough, she'd be allowed to marry the father, even though you might say that it's a father-in-law. If it would have been a regular marriage, if somebody divorces his wife, she cannot marry the ex-father-in-law. That's a kalasa. That remains forever. All of the arayas, all of the relationships, they remain forever. Even after divorce or death, besides the one exception about a wife's sister is mutter after death. But otherwise, they're right. But here, this marriage is absolved retroactively. So she never was married to him. So she's allowed to marry his father. She's allowed to marry his brother. She's not related. There's an interesting thing that's going to come up in our sugya. That was Mia Nababal. That while the husband was alive, and she said, I don't want you. So the marriage is off. It's off retroactively. There's going to be a concept that's called miyana biyavam. Here's a case where two brothers, one of them married a woman, and he died. So now she falls to yibum. This woman is supposed to be a small one. I messed it up. Supposed to be a katana, but she didn't do yibum. This line over here wasn't to the husband. As long as he was alive, she didn't refuse him. But now when she falls to her brother, she says, I don't want you. And that's a chiddush that she could do that also. And since the whole relationship to this brother, to the brother-in-law, is because she was married to the husband, it's continuation of that marriage.
Right.
Just like
why is it a chiddush?
Because she didn't refuse the.
Better than the other guy.
Yeah, but you could say that she could have refused the marriage when she was still married to him. She can't after he dies. She's refused. It really works that she's refusing the original marriage. In order to refuse, she can't just say I don't want you. It has to be that she doesn't want the original husband. That she did want him. But now she doesn't want, but that also works.
And she's a gedol of it.
No, she's a ketana. Talk about a ketana.
I'm not saying.
No, you only could do miyun as long as she's a ketana.
No, right. But they were married, right? She was married.
Yeah.
And then
Husband died.
And the husband died. Maybe she's a gedol of it.
No, then she wouldn't be. No, miyun is only as long as she's a ketana. She's still a ketana, right? She's still a ketana, and she says, "I don't want you."
Right.
That also works.
Right. But if she was a gedol, then there's nothing to talk.
There's no miyun. There's no miyun. Once she becomes of age, there's no miyun anymore. Then she'd be a regular wife, like a regular wife, and then she would have to have yibum or chalitza.
Okay.
But since she's a ketana, since she's still a minor, so she could absolve the whole marriage retroactively, even by saying to the brother that I don't want you. That also is like saying that she doesn't want the whole marriage from the beginning, and there's no yibum. But this is going to be a little bit. The Gemara is going to say at the end of the Gemara is going to say soon. We'll see later. We don't know this yet. That this was bonded, was registered more as a marriage since when the husband died. She did fall to the husband to the yavam because at that point they were married. So this looks more like a registered marriage, even though later on she's absolving it. Then really it does work. But in this case, we're not going to say that she's mutter to marry, let's say, the father-in-law, because it's been already registered that she is she's a wife. She was a wife when he died. It was registered that she's a wife of this man, so to speak. But we'll get to that later. That's just a side point. I just wanted to introduce the concept of miyun. And usually miyun is to the husband while he's alive. And also we're going to have a concept of having miyun to the brother after the husband died, and also that it works. So the Gemara talks about tzaras mema'enes. Right away, this first sugya has to get on to see the words of the Gemara. Up, where does it go? The Gemara starts off. Today's Gemara. Rabbi Lili bar Shmuel. This is Shmuel talking. We're going to see this one. Another Shmuel is talking. Tzaras mema'enes asura. So go on to the diagram. Here you have I hope I did it right. Here you have a man who was married to a ketana. You have a ketana and a gedola, a small one, a big one. She's a minor, she's a regular gedola, she's already 12 years old. This one is less than, this is a 9, 10, 11, she's a ketana. So this is a kedushin d'Rabbanan, this is a kedushin d'Oraisa, he's married to a regular woman. He dies, and the ketana, the minor, she says she doesn't want the yavam. This is called, and this other wife is called the tzara. She's the mama enes.
She doesn't have a choice. Originally, maybe that has nothing to do with the minor. I thought the man is the one who.
I'm not sure where you're coming in. I'm not sure where you're coming from. There's a man that's married to a minor and to a adult, and the minor, after her husband died, she said to the brother, "I don't want you. I refuse. I'm doing miyun." That's the case. So what would we say? That the whole thing really should be absolved. She's not around. She's retroactively not here. And so what do we have? We have a wife, and she should have yibum. The Gemara says, "Tzaras mama enes asura." Tzaras mama enes asura. The co-wife of a woman, of a minor who did miyun, is asur. So the Gemara has to figure out what does it mean. So who is it asur? The Gemara is going to say that she's definitely not asur to the other brothers. That means she said to one brother, "I don't want you." She's called the mama enes. He's called the one that she did miyun to. It says that the tzaras mama enes is asur. The Gemara says surely she's not asur to the other brothers that she didn't say, "I don't want," because
she didn't refuse.
She refused to one of them, and you might say that if she refused to one of them, it's like she's not here to the whole family. When she says she doesn't want him, that means she doesn't want the original marriage, and the whole marriage is absolved. And whatever she is to one brother, really she is to all the brothers. But the Gemara is going to say the facts are going to be that the brother is mutter even to marry her. The brother is mutter to marry them, and after she absolves it, she's allowed to marry the brother.
Without, it just means it's not evil.
It's not even, but she's allowed to marry him. You don't say
a side question.
It's too complicated for side questions.
Okay.
If you get what it says, we'll be good. And afterwards, all side questions are invited. But just to get what it says, it says that the tzaras mema'enes is also. The Gemara said it can't mean it's also to the brother because the brother's even wanted to marry her. The brother can marry her, and surely the tzara. So we're going to talk about him, the one that she said, "I don't want you." And he is also to marry her now. From now on, she's also to marry her. It looks a little bit like tzaras, like chalut sasa. What would be the din if there would have been a real marriage, and he would have done chalitza? They would have broken the. Then we had read before chaltza v'kitcha, that it's at least allowed. Chibin sholabana shivlo yivne, that if he decided not to marry her, so he can't do it anymore. So too, this looks similar. When she broke the connection by doing miyun, so he's not allowed to marry her anymore.
Except if it would have been a real chalitza,
Yes.
then she'd be free to marry anybody else, and she would be meaning in the world. And now, because chalitza was done, and she would become an ereva again to him, and he couldn't marry her. Isn't that true?
Who's an erva to who?
This is his brother. She's the brother's wife.
Yes. You're true. You're going back to the brother.
This brother,
The brother is, we
if
said.
chalitza was
Right,
done,
so if it will be real,
she's
true,
permitted
if it-
to everybody and she becomes an erva to
If
the
it,
other
if it
brother.
would be chalitza, then it would be also to the brothers also, and it would even be worse. It would even be maybe chorus. We're talking about that it's chorus. Chalutza. So we said to him this is allowed, and to the other ones this might be even chorus. Rabbi Yochanan says it's also allowed. That all the brothers are the same. This is the shliach of everybody, and all the tzaros is going to be also chorus. Rabbi Yochanan says it's all allowed. But you're right that everything would have been aser. But here we say that only this is aser. He's aser to her. The brothers are mutter to her and kabel chomer to the tzara. He is aser to her, and now we're going to talk about if he's aser to the tzara. That's the Gemara. Let's see what we have. Or maybe I should go back a second. I just wrote something over here. Let's see if that helps us. Some corrections as we went along. But Miyana Yavam, this case that she did Miyan to the Yavam, after her husband died, she refused to the brother. So she is mutter to the brothers, and surely the tzara is mutter to the brother. He is asa to her because it looks like a chalutza.
Right.
But that doesn't make that everybody else should be aser, like we said a second ago, the brothers are mutter. And the Gemara now is going to talk about why is he aser to the tzara.
Oh, he's going to be awesome.
It's going to say, that's how he starts off. He starts off that he is also to the tzara. That's what the Gemara is going to say. Now we'll see the Gemara inside, I hope.
To even do chalitza or anything.
He's,
This is like chalitza, that's what we're saying.
it's going to be worse than that. Because if it will be only that, we don't answer the brother, we don't answer the tzara. So this fact, the fact that she did some kind of a miyan over here, we're only going to answer this relationship. We're not going to answer the brother's relationships. And there's a question, the same way you don't answer the brother to her, why should you answer him to the tzara? It's like once removed. People, the whole thing is only that it looks bad. It looks bad. It looks like a chalitza. But you have to be a big lamdan to say that since there's a chalitza over here, so then the brothers also are. So what Leib Yaakov said is considered advanced. And therefore, not everybody, when we're going to make a gzera that this looks bad, it's only when you're looking at it, then you see that they were connected and she disconnected, and they're going to be mutter still. That looks bad. That looks like a chalutza. But for the brother, even though the lumdus is right, Leib Yaakov is right, and also for the tzara, it's right. But the Gemara is going to say that's like once removed, even though it's true, 100%. But this only thing is a gzera over here. So the Gemara seems to say that only the fact that it looks like a chalutza is only going to affect the one who she did miyun to, and that's why the Gemara is going to have to wonder how come she's asa to the he is asa to the tzara. We'll see the Gemara and then we'll go back to. Is this on the screen? Maybe not on the screen again. Yeah, it was on the screen. Okay, back to the Gemara. We're starting. As the base of an Aleph, about 20 lines down. So first the Gemara wants to know, what does that mean? What does Saras Mamenas Asura mean? The tzara of a woman who's a minor, of course, that's what Mion means. So the tzara is asa. To who is she asa? To who is the tzara asa? The man. Who is she asa to? Ilay Malachim. She's asa to other brothers, not to the one that she did Mion to. Hashti Gufa Sharia. Even she's mutter to the brothers. We'll see it on the chart again. She herself is mutter to the brothers. Dama Shmuel, Miyano Bazeh, Muteres Bazeh. If she did Mion to one of the brothers, she's mutter to other brothers. So tzarasa mibaya, if she herself, the mama Enes, is mutter to the brothers, so surely the co-wife of the mama Enes is mutter to the brothers. So that's not what Shmuel meant. When Shmuel said tzaras mamenes asura, he didn't mean to say that she's asur to the brothers. Ella lididei. When Shmuel said tzaras mamenes is asur, he meant to the one that she did miyun to. And the Gemara says, now I don't understand. Umayishna mama Enes teshari la'achin, the law of the Buhumaisa. How come we permit the Mama Enes, the one who did Miyan, to the other brothers that she didn't do Miyan to? Why do we say that is permissible? Because we didn't see any kind of relationship between them. Because it's true, Leib Yaakov's point was true, that if she's a chalutza, so then it should affect the brothers also. But we don't say that. We say that the gzera only applies to the one that we see in front of us, that they had an interaction of doing chalitza, or doing miyan, so it looks like chalitza, but we're not going to go to the lumdus that if that's true, so then the brother also should be yasa. So if so, saranami of the bay, this should be bay. This was a mistake. It shouldn't be bu. It should be bay. That the tzara didn't do any interaction with the one that what miyan was done to. Let's see that inside. Just to see the chart. If anybody can figure out how to put the chart at the same time, It might help us. But again, the way the Gemara read was Tzaras Mama'enes. She's the Tzaras Mama'enes. This is the little girl that did Mian. She's called the Tzara. Tzaras Mama'enes Asura. To who is she Asa? She's Asa to the brother of the brother of the one that Mian was done to. That can't be, because he's not even to marry the Mama'enes herself.
So the one who is Ma'amenes. She's a certain one who's Ma'amenes.
So it must be that when we say that Tzaras Mama'enes is Asa, it's Asa to the one that you did Mian to. And the Gemara says, I don't understand. The very same way that you permit the brother to marry the Mama'enes because it's once removed means we only answer this connection. This, since it was interaction between them, so now we answer that it looks like a Tzaras, like it looks like a Cholza of a Kitcha. It looks like he did it. It's a Eishes Ashalov Makam Mitzvah. Once they did Chalitza, then he's not supposed to marry her anymore. But we don't answer the once removed because of that. The brother is allowed to marry her. The same way this is once removed, the Tzara is also once removed. So the same way this brother is allowed to marry the Mama'enes, he should be allowed to marry the Tzara of the Mama'enes. What's the difference? Everybody accepts that so far? Okay. The Gemara answers, Gzeira Mishum Tzaras Bito Mema'enes. Try to get the what if we have an Arab over here? This man married his brother's Arab, his brother's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He married his brother's daughter, and
she's
young. She's a Ketana, and as long as her husband was alive, she didn't refuse him.
Mm-hmm. And
he died. So if it would have been regular two women, so she's an Arab to him, and just like she's not allowed to do Yibum, the Tzara also. That's called Tzara. That's the first Mishnah. Tzara Zerva. You have two wives, so just like the woman herself is Arab, and Asr, so too the co-wife also cannot marry the Yavam. But she did Mian. She wants to get herself out of the picture. She wants to remove herself. So she tells to her relative, I don't want the marriage. I wanted to absolve the marriage retroactively. So
there was no Zika because she's an Erva.
She wants to, that would make that the Tzara cannot marry him. She wants to absolve the marriage retroactively. Well, that's what Mian does. Mian absolves the marriage retroactively. So she says, I'm going to remove myself retroactively, and then the co-wife should do Yibum. The only reason why the co-wife doesn't do Yibum is because she's a Tzara Serva. That's if I exist. I want to get myself out of the marriage.
When she says Mian, it's as if she was never married to her husband.
Right.
Who died.
Right.
So and she did it.
That's what Mian is. That's what Mian is. It's very important to come for the first minute, because that's when the Yisod come. So afterwards it gets confusing. But the first Yisod was that Mian works retroactively. The marriage absolves the marriage retroactively. And the Chiddush of our Gemara is that not only if she absolves it to the husband, the original husband, even if the husband died and she falls to the brother-in-law, she also could say to him she doesn't want the marriage, and it also works retroactively. So here, even though she's an Erva, and that would mean that the Tzara does not do Yibum because she's a Tzara Serva, if it's possible to remove herself retroactively, so then she's not here. She's not in the picture. She's a daughter. She's a daughter to this man, but she's not married to his brother. And then the Tzara could do Yibum. So the Gemara says, no, this doesn't look good. People don't realize that Mian works retroactively. And if they're going to see this happening, they're going to say that a Tzara Serva is mutter. If they're going to see the Tzara getting Yibum from the co-wife's father, they're going to say that Tzara Serva is mutter and Tzara Serva is Asr. And this only would be mutter theoretically because it's a Mian, which absolves the whole thing. But people don't realize that. So Tzaras Bito Mema'enes is Asr. Good?
Mm-hmm.
That's called Agzera. But the rice will be, but the rice here, she's not married at all. She's not, even if she doesn't do Mian, she's not here. But Minabana, she's here. And we're not going to allow the Mian to absolve with Lamafreya in order that Tzara should be able to marry, because it looks like a Tzara Serva is allowed to marry after a get or something like that. And that's not true.
I'm trying
So-
to find the Vito. I'm still looking for the Vito.
she's his daughter. That's why they're in the red. She's his daughter. They're related. It can be other relationships, 15 relationships.
Wait a bit.
There's a relationship, and that's the first Mishnah
Ah.
that that a Tzoras Erva cannot do Yibum. Here she wants to absolve it by doing Miyun and getting rid of it retroactively, and she's not in the picture. And then the Yavam will be able to marry the remaining wife. But that's Asa, because people will think that a Tzoras Erva does do Yibum. They don't realize that Miyun takes it off retroactively. Now the Gemara says that because of that, because Tzoras, if they'd be an erva, if they would be an erva to each other, we would not allow the miyun to let the tzara get married to him. Because of that, we're going to make exer that even if they're not an erva, also we're not going to allow him to marry the tzara. Good?
Yeah.
That's the Gemara. See it inside. The Gemara answers, but the Gemara questions, is that true? Is that true that a Tzoras Bita Mama Enes is Asa? I just said on the bottom, you said that case is Asa, but that's not so pashut. The Gemara asks, but Tzoras Bita Mama Enes mi Asira, she Asa? The Mishnah says, Vatnan, the Mishnah in the beginning, Dab Beis, Vekulan and Mesu Amiyanu, here's a Miyanu, so it's saying Mutoras. Over there it says that if there was an erva who did Miyun, the Tzara does become mutter because it does absolve the marriage. The Miyan of Iman, who did she do Miyan to? The case that the Mishnah says that the Miyan takes off the relationship and the co-wife is allowed to marry. With the Miyan of Iman. Now we learned in the Mishnah, we didn't get so, in the Mishnah we learned very simple. And maybe I could put it on the screen if I have one of these cases. I don't think I have over here, but let's say the first case, a regular, okay, I didn't put exactly this case on let's say this, the Mishnah says that if there's a erva, so it says that Miyun does break it. We learned in the Mishnah that Miyun breaks it means that she refused to her husband while he was still alive. Not this case. This case shows that she did Miyun to the Yavam. After the husband died, then she wants to refuse to the brother-in-law, to the Yavam. But we learned in Mishnah that she refused to her husband while the husband was still alive. She said, "I want out." So then she's out, Taka. And then when the husband dies and there's only one wife left, so then there's no reason why she shouldn't do Yibum because the other wife is out. She was, when he died, she wasn't a wife anymore. But the Gemara doesn't suggest, maybe that's not Pshan the Mishnah. Maybe the Pshan the Mishnah is this case. And it says that it's mutter. Because the Gemara says that over there it says that if he divorced her or if he did Miyun, if he did Miyun to her, Miyun is another kind of a divorce as far as the Mishnah is concerned. It says also even if she was she was an adult wife, she was a regular wife that was an erva, and the husband divorced her before he died. So then she's out of the picture. And when he dies and the wife, the single wife, falls to Yibum, so no reason why he shouldn't do Yibum because the wife is out. So the Gemara questions that the Mishnah, not the way we learned. We learned in the Mishnah, the Pashup Shad is that she did Miyun to the husband while he was alive. Then the Gemara says that's as good as a get. The Mishnah says get. There's no reason why the Mishnah should have said if he divorced her or she did Miyun. What's the difference? Both of them are the same idea that they separated, they absolved the marriage while he was still alive. So that wouldn't be a chiddush. It must be that get means while he was alive, and Miyun means even after death. There's no such thing as a get after death. After he dies, there's no such thing as a get retroactively. But Miyun does work retroactively. So the Gemara is suggesting that when the Mishnah says that Miyun absolves the marriage and the Tzora could marry, that's even if she did Miyun after death.
I was thinking that Miyun only works in a relationship that hasn't yet taken place. It can happen already when they're married, and then
I'm not sure what you mean to say. Every Miyun is after they're married.
No, in other words, if it comes a Yibum and wants to marry her, and she said, "No, I don't want to marry."
That's what we're talking about. That was the beginning.
Yes, they didn't get married.
What does married mean? Yibum. She says, "I don't want." They're not married. What do you mean they're married? They're not
Right,
married.
but to her husband, she is married. So how does Miyun work onto her husband?
When she's a zika, when the husband dies, that she's false to the yavam, that's called a zika. There's the obligation to do yibum, and she breaks it by saying, "I don't want the marriage. I don't want the original marriage." To the beginning again. The problem with this is that we have to the first couple of minutes. That's what sets the stage for the rest of the day. The regular case of mian is that a woman says to her husband, I don't want you. And then the whole thing is absolved. That's the regular case. And it goes retroactively. And then she's even allowed to marry the father-in-law. She can marry she never was married. The whole thing is off. That's a regular case. She says to the husband, I don't want. There's a chiddush over that's called mian ababal. There's a chiddush in our Gemara that there's even mian abayavam, that after the husband dies and she falls to the brother for yibum, she could tell him, I don't want you. And the whole thing is also off retroactively. That's the yesod of the whole sugya. And now we're talking about that when she wants to absolve it in the Mishnah says that if the Ketana absolves it by doing miyun, then the tzara could marry. And the pashpashat means that she did miyun to the husband while he was alive, like a regular case of miyun. But the Gemara says that goes without saying. It says get breaks it while he's alive. A get breaks it also, even though it doesn't go retroactively. So miyun, surely, what's the difference? When he died, he only had one wife. It must be that the Mishnah is coming to say that even this case, that she absolves it after the husband died, and she says to the Yavam, I don't want you. And also it says that the tzara is mutter. If so this is against Shmuel. To see that inside. The tzara's bito mama'enes miyasira, is she aser? The Mishnah says that she's mutter. But now the Mishnah says that all of these are rayas. If they died or did miyun or got divorced, then the tzara is mutter. And who's the case of miyun over here? The miyun of a man. Who did she do miyun? What does the Mishnah mean she did miyun? If she did miyun to the husband while he was still alive, the Mishnah says about it divorcing. If he divorces while he's alive, so surely the heir was out and only has one wife left, and she could do yibum. And it wouldn't be necessary to say he divorced her or there was a miyun if she's a ketana. It must mean that even if she did the miyun to the yavam after he died, after the husband died, also it permits the tzara to marry that man. No, go to the simple pshat that the Mishnah says that the miyun takes off the marriage. It's only if she did miyun to the husband while he was alive. And even though it repeats itself, it says grusha and miyun, it's both the same thing, more or less, as far as we're concerned. But the Gemara wants to say two kinds of divorces. One kind of divorce is to an adult wife, or even a ketana also can give a get. But there's also kind of a separation that stopping the marriage by doing miyun. So the Gemara doesn't bother, doesn't have a concept in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that miyun absolves the marriage and the tzara is mutter to marry the yavam is only if it was done to the husband. But if it was done to the brother, then it is going to be yasir. But the Gemara still doesn't. There's no kash anymore. But the Gemara
read about trei
gavne,
gavne.
Two kinds, two types of gerushin. Trei gavne gerushin. It just says two types of divorce, even though you're right that there's no big chiddush. If gerushin permits it, so too surely miyun. But it doesn't mind to say two types of gerushin. But that's all to the husband. But if it was the husband died, now she does miyun to the yavam, then she's usher to him. The tzara is usher to the yavam. We'll put it on the diagram one more minute. The Gemara continues. Now the Gemara wants to what's the svara? How come when she says miyun, she refuses to the husband? Why does it work? Because it absolves the marriage retroactively. If she would refuse to the brother-in-law, also it absolves the marriage, the original marriage. So it should be just as good. Technically, it should be just as good. The Gemara answers Misham the Tani Rami Bar Yecheskel, because the Rami Bar Yecheskel's brisa. The Tani Rami Bar Yecheskel miyan abibal muteres la'avid, but miyan abiyavam asur la'avid. Alma mishas nefila neres kikalaza, achanami mishas nefila neres kitzaras bito. Just to go into the diagram, I think it'll make it easier.
Miyun only works for ketana as opposed to gedolim.
Yeah, that's olive base. That's like mamash. Here we start at the beginning that if a woman was a ketana and she refuses to her husband, it absolves the marriage retroactively. And we said she's even mutter to marry the father because it's not her father-in-law. The whole thing is off. If someone would have been married, a gedola that's married, and she gets divorced, she can't, or she can marry the father-in-law. But this is not called a divorce. This is called miyun and absolves the marriage retroactively. But here it says that if she absolved the marriage after the husband died by doing miyun to the yavam, she's usher to marry the ex-father-in-law. Why? If you say that miyun absolves the marriage retroactively, so she's not married at all. The same way miyun baal, she's allowed to marry the father. ex-father-in-law, because he retroactively he's not even a father, never was a father-in-law. So too it should be mutter. Says no, it's asa. Why is that? Because it was at the time that she fell to Yibum, it was officially stamped, so to speak, or registered or recognized that she is married, that he is the father at that time. So that's like too official. And the fact that I made it that there was a matzav, there was a situation that she was officially the daughter-in-law. So even
at what time?
when they fall to Yibum, when the husband dies, when the husband dies, she's still a Ktana. When the husband dies, she falls to the brother to Yibum.
So that's like a marriage, even if.
So then it's more bonded. The fact not really, but the people. It looks that she's falling to Yibum, and then it's a real marriage. And therefore, we're going to say that even if she does miyun and it absolves the whole thing retroactively, she's also to the father,
Father-in-law.
the ex-father-in-law, right? His father. And
Why
now-
couldn't we just say that it'll look like it was chalitza, and then we'll say that.
that would be true, but you see, that would have been true. It would have been
It's like-
true.
It looks
And
like
that's-
when you do chalitza.
Right. That's what you said in the
marry
beginning. You
your
said that in the beginning. That was your first point, and you're right. But people are not such lamdanim. That's what that you're right. That if this is a chalitza, the reason why he's also there is because it looks like chalutzasa. It looks like he's marrying after he did chalitza. So too, then surely the brother should be also to marry her, and also anybody to marry the tzara. That was your kasha. It's a good kasha.
Yeah.
But the answer seems to be that we only answer the thing of the people where there was interaction between them. Over there we see the chalitza. People say, oh, they did chalitza, and then they got married. But this one who's going to talk about the brother, oh, the brother did chalitza. That's already a step beyond, and we don't make a gzera for that. We only made the gzera. The fact that it looks like a chalutza, we're only going to answer those who had. And that's what the Gemara's problem was. The same way that you permit the brother because it wasn't a direct interaction. So too, you should permit him also to marry the tzara because it's not a direct interaction. And that's the Gemara comes that the Gemara accepts the kasha. It's a good kasha. The Gemara answers because at the time of Yibum, she looked like the tzara. Right, so when there's an erva, this is usher only because the gzeira of tzara's bita. That's the most answer. This really shouldn't be usher. Him to marry the tzara of the mamaenes really should be mutter because it's once removed. So the din of a chalutza so only asks this. That looks like a chalutza. It doesn't ask the brother to marry her and kavul chomer the tzara, and it shouldn't ask him to marry the tzara. The reason why it's usher, that's what the Gemara's answer is, because the gzeira of tzara's bito mema'enes. If this connection would have been an erva, then that is usher. And the Gemara now is coming to explain why is this usher. This is only usher because at the time of the nefila, she was a tzara serva. At the time of Yibum, when he died, she was usher to him because of a tzara serva. So we don't take it off anymore. The same way we don't allow her to marry the father, let's say, the father of the dead man. He also cannot marry the tzara. Once it was registered, I don't know which word to use. The fact that it became a situation that we recognize that there's a relationship over here, the fact that she falls to Yibum, that we're not going to permit. And therefore, we also asked that man who Mian was done to marry the tzara because of gzeira, if they would be related. The same way that if we're going to allow him to marry her, they're going to say that he's allowed to marry her also if they're an erva, because it absolves the mafreya. And that we don't want. We don't want people to be matir tzaras mito memenes. This is the case we're scared of. And even this is not really a problem. It's only because we're going to be matir tzaras erva that was not of memenes. Everything's like Rabbanan on Rabbanan. But that's the end of the Gemara.
Another brother could marry either one, right?
The brother could marry even the memenes herself. Just to sum it up, this case where there was a miyun to the yavam, after the husband died, she was mamayin to the yavam. The brother could marry her and surely the tzara. He cannot marry her because it looks like a chalutza, and they wouldn't have asked the tzara. They asked the tzara because of a gzeira of this case. If they would be ever to each other, we do want to answer this case. Why do we answer this case? What's the difference? Also, it's got some zalta mafreya, because at the time of falling to Yibum, it looks like it's Tzara's bito, and we don't want people to think that Tzara's bito is mutter. The same way you say that she's usher to the father, since at the time of Yibum it happened. This case on top, that this we ask her to marry the father. Also, we ask her to marry the brother also, because by erva, if it will be an erva.
So there's like in diagram 2.
Yeah.
The fact that the brother that she did miyun to,
Yes.
he can't marry the Tzora, right?
Right, that's what that's the
And
whole
we would
Gemara. That's
say
the point of the
that's sort
Gemara.
of comparable to over here in number one, that the girl herself couldn't marry the father.
No, because the one that there's a only this is usher because of this. This is comparable to this. This and this are the same. That b'shas nefila, there's an isser over here.
Oh, because of because of three. Uh-huh.
That the Gemara says this is usher because of Gzeir Mishum Soras Bito Mamenes. And why is Soras Bito Mamenes usher? Because the same way we said that the father's usher, she's usher to marry the ex-father-in-law, because at the time of Nefila L'Yibum, it looked like they're married. It looked like the marriage is a good marriage, even though it's getting absolved. So this too, at the time of the marriage, it looks like Soras Bito. It looks like they're usher to each other because Soras Bito, we don't take it off. In this case, there's really no problem. There is no erva over here. But if we're going to say that this is mutter, we're going to say this is mutter also.
Okay.
That's the end of the Gemara. Just to see it inside. The Gemara asks, why? First, the Gemara had a kasha from the Mishnah. The Gemara thought the Mishnah says that it's mutter. No, it doesn't say that. It means only if she did me into the husband. But then the Gemara says, what's the difference? It absolves it retroactively. Everything should be mutter. Mashna kimina baval, that it goes retroactively. Everything is off. She takes off everything retroactively. It should be mutter. The answer is because Rambam Bar Yecheskel said that if she did miyah to the husband, she's mutter to marry his father. If she did miyah to the yavam, she can't marry the father. Why? Because at the time of falling to yibum, it was recognized. It looked like she was the daughter-in-law, so it's also even after they absolved it. By the reason why it's always at the time of falling to yibum, we saw the relationship that he's not allowed to marry her. So even though the miyun doesn't take that long. That's the end of the sugya of Tzoras Mamanis. We're going to come to it a little bit more. A drop. We're going to mention it back again later on. But right now we could not forget about it, but put it into the Chazorah system, and that Gemara is over. New Gemara. Tzoras Islanders. So to get a little chart over here. A new sugya started.
We call it source Mamanis.
That was a sugya of Tzoras Mamanis.
Okay.
New sugya. Tzara.
This is going to be source islands.
Islands. Islands is a woman who cannot have children. What is the word in English? Anybody have an English word for that? Barren. A barren? No, barren just means she doesn't have children, but islandess means she cannot have children. She's not physically able to have children. Any English word for that?
Sterile.
Sterile, okay. Okay. Why is it not working? Oh, this is it. This is the one. Tzoras Islandess. Okay, so there's a sterile woman. A man married a woman, two wives. One could have children, one cannot have children. She's an island. I didn't have a way to put a diagram, so I just wrote islandess. Okay. This woman is an islandess.
He knows when he marries her?
Oh, very nice, Mamish. That's the show. Did he know when he married her? So if he did not know that she was an islandess, and then he finds out, if he did not know,
then you might say it's Mecca.
So then it's called Kiddush Tos. It's a mistake, right. And the marriage is also retroactively not a marriage. It wasn't a marriage. Right. So even if they would be related to each other, if I would make both of these red, if they'd be an heir to each other, there was no marriage, and therefore the Tzara could marry.
Yeah. Right.
How about if he did know about it? He knew what he's getting into. He knew what he's getting, and he wanted to marry her anyway. So what would you say?
It's a good marriage.
It's a good marriage, but there's no yibum. The Gemara is going to say right away, there's no yibum to an islandess because she cannot have children. The whole purpose of the whole point. Married. He knew what he's getting into, or he did not know what he's getting married into. If he did not know, and then he finds out that the violinist, so he knew.
And now the whole thing of Yibum is about having children.
Yes.
And we know that she can't have children.
So she's not, she doesn't do Yibum. How could you Yiksa? She's Eishes Achiv. She's a real wife.
You wanted her.
She's a
real wife, and she's a real sister. She's a real erva. So
and if you can't do Yibum to her, to an erva,
so then she's like a
Tzoras erva.
Right. So that might even knock out the Tzara because she's a relative, she's an erva to him because she's an Eishes, she's a brother's wife, no mitzvah. So this is a Chiv Chorus over here, and therefore she's be a Tzoras erva. That's what one might say. But don't forget what you said, because you're going to get back on, you're going to be brought back on the stage. But at this point, you'll hurry you right. So this, yeah, okay. Back to the Gemara. Amar Rav Asi. Sarah's islandess asura.
Which is the way we just.
That's what we just said. That we said that since the islandess is not allowed to
like
do
an
yibum, so she's an Arab, and the Sarah Shenema. The Gemara doesn't even bring a pasuk about the Sarah. That means the right that she cannot do yibum. The pasuk says that the firstborn that she's going to give birth to is going to be al shem achiv ames. That'll be as if it's a child to the deceased brother. So she has to be able to have children. But a sterile woman that cannot give birth, so she's not in the pressure of yibum. And then it goes without saying, the Gemara doesn't even have to explain it, that she's an erva because she's mitzvah. She's a brother's wife without a mitzvah of yibum, so she's an erva. And the tzara is also because she's a tzara's erva. Masif Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes has a kasha, which is a pretty long kasha, and we'll do the case outside first.
Is it a brisa?
Yes, or maybe it's a Mishnah. I forgot. What am I doing here? Okay. This the Gemara calls a little advanced case. Here is a case. There was 3 brothers. The Gemara says they had 3 wives, but you don't need the other wife. One wife is not necessary for the story at all. So there were 3 brothers. Each one they got married. No, not sisters. If you notice here, there's no hyphen. There's no connecting factor. They're not sisters. 2 of the brothers got married.
2 brothers.
2 brothers got married to 2
different wives. It could be the third brother also had a wife. It's not relative. One brother died. His wife falls to Yibum.
Mm-hmm.
And the brother almost did Yibum. Almost did Yibum. He didn't do Yibum. He almost did Yibum.
You did the curlicue.
I should have made a perforated curl.
Okay.
That it was almost. So I think the Gemara is going to say that it's called ma'amar. Is that coming up? I forgot what the word. So let me just see the Gemara. I mean, I really, instead of just taking the Gemara off and on again. So there's a new concept here of ma'amar. The first time we have in the Masechta. Ma'amar means that he does kedushin. Now, really, kedushin is the way to marry a regular woman. It's not the way to marry a yevama. Yevama is to have relations. That's the way you do yibum. To give her a ring and say "Aret mukadeshesli" doesn't really. That's not really. Chora is not really something, but it's half of something. It's called ma'amar. It's like getting into it.
What we call a vort.
No, a vort is a garnished.
Oh, that's mashma.
This is
kedushin. He gave her a ring and said "Aret mukadeshesli."
There's a kidney.
So that's not yibum. That's not yibum.
It was like a
preparation. That we're going to get married.
But it wasn't a yibum.
It's not yibum. It's called ma'amar. Ma'amar, he says, I'm going to marry you. Maybe it's more than we'll get to it when we get to sugya. I'm not familiar with it yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not a real yibum.
To get rid of that mama, you need a get, right?
Right. That's advanced. So the brother almost did yibum. He got into the yibum. He did ma'amar. Means he said, I'm going to marry you, and maybe he did kedushin, that's kedushin. But he didn't mamish take her. If he would have taken her, let's say he would have taken her mamish, did yibum, so he has another wife. He has 2 wives. And if he dies, so it's a man that has 2 wives, then they fall to the next brother. Regular case. But since it was mamar, so it's not just a pashada thing, because now when he dies, besides having to marry her, because it's the second, call him Reuben, Shimon, Levi. So besides being Shimon's wife, she's also still Reuben's wife that didn't get yibum yet. So this woman is obligated to Levi on 2 counts because of the original brother, because she wasn't taken care of yet. No one did yibum to her yet. When he died, she fell to both brothers. One brother started taking her, but he didn't finish.
Yeah.
And then he has another wife also. But this first wife is falling to Levi. Oh, very nice. She's falling to the third brother on 2 counts, on Reuven's count and Shimon's count. And the Gemara is going to say that there's no yibum to her.
Right.
He's not supposed to do yibum to her. And therefore, this woman is going to be at Sarah's erva. It's going to be Yisra Rabbanan.
What's bothering it? Because
Not a real erva, but it's like Rabbanan erva.
what's bothering us? The mimer in between there?
Yeah, that it makes her a bit of a wife to him, but not completely a wife. She's still a wife. She still has the zika of the first husband. That's called that she has the zika of 2 brothers, because she married 2 of them. One was a real marriage, one was a ma'amar, and she's falling to the third brother on 2 counts, on the count of 2 brothers. So he doesn't do Yibum to her.
And it was,
I'm
is
trying
it
to find the
not
why.
doing
I'm looking for a reason. Okay.
We'll see a pasuk.
Now another guy comes along, no brothers, nothing. She can marry him?
No,
She has to get free. She has to get free.
How she get free?
Oh, to do chalitza. Chalitza.
Chalitza from.
From there's only one live brother. Yeah, he has to.
He
Yeah.
gives her chalitza and then she can marry anybody else.
Yeah,
besides
yeah.
these guys.
Any question?
I was just gonna say, in terms of the Yibum, and it's supposed to be to,
If he would have done Yibum, if he would have done Yibum,
the concept of Yibum is to uphold the brother's house.
yes.
And since there's two brothers, then we wouldn't know which house it is. That might be a reason why you couldn't do it, because you wouldn't, it's nish to here, vanish to here.
I don't know what to say.
That's too small.
So into the Gemara. So it seems like we're going mamish far off of our subject. That's nothing to do with our subject, but we'll get back. We go left field and we come back again.
First, I was gonna say, if he has two reasons to do, it seems like he would have two reasons to do Yibum to her and not to the other wife. But the answer is, it's assur to, it's assur.
Must have Shlosh Achin, the Su and the Shalosh Nashim. Three brothers married to three women. We said that the third woman is not relevant over here. Shalosh Nashim Nachrios, not sisters. Three brothers married to three foreigners, three strangers, not related. And one of them died. Mama. And the second one did mama to that wife, to that widow. Mama means kedushin, but not Yibum. Umeis, and then the second brother died. So both of them need chalitza. Both of them need chalitza. One of them, we'll see why can't they do? Why they're not regular two wives? Or shenema umeis achad mehem yevamo yaval. The pasuk says that if they're two brothers, one of them dies, so the brother-in-law marries her. Mishallah zika shavam echad v'lo zika shnei yevamim. A new thing, zika shnei yevamim. If she's falling because of the obligation to connection to two of the brothers, no, you don't do yibum. What do? Chalitza, and the other one also needs chalitza. Means we can't just say, let's get on the picture again. We can't just say both of them. He has to do chalitza to both of them. He can't just do chalitza to one because Rashi's the Gemara is going to say soon that there's only the Rabbanan. Really, the whole list is only Yisra Rabbanan. But they're not really co-wives because he didn't marry her. So he can't do this chalitza to one of them. There are two brothers over here. So he has to do chalitza to this one to go free. He has to do chalitza to this one to go free.
Where did the pasuk end? Mesachad mehem yevama.
Yevamo yavo.
That's the end.
Yeah, and the Gemara dashens that achad mehem, one of them died. Not that she has two brothers that are dying. Not that she has two connections to two brothers, and then he's going to be miyabim her on account of two counts. Mishallah zika shavam echad. Only if it's shavam echad. Mesachad mehem. V'lo zika shnei yevamim. Okay, so far nice information, but nothing to do with us. The Katani Allah, we have Brisa. Not the Brisa, probably the Katani Allah, whatever. Amar Rav Yosef. It's Rav Yosef talking, so it's not a Katani.
Yeah.
But Zuhi, like Itmar Allah, Zuhi tzaras Eisha Sach Mayav, Sheis in the Fila Gormla, Shalom Matzinu B'chol Kulan Kigonzos. Adkan. That's what Rav Yosef said. Rav Yosef said that this is a very unique case, that the falling to Yibum is what causes the Issa. Means he says this is a unique case. You never find such a case. Why is she Asa? Why is this woman Asa? Because of the falling to Yibum. The falling to Yibum caused that she should become Asa. Why can he not marry her? The actual falling to Yibum is like Eisha Sach Shalom B'Makom Mitzvah, but it's the falling to Yibum was what caused this Issa. What's the Issa called? Why is she not allowed to marry him? Because Zika Shnei Yevamim. Call it, maybe to make it simpler, that it's the Eisha Sach. The Issa is the Eisha Sach. I'm saying it simpler, but it might not be accurate. But just to make it simpler, that usually when you find things stopping Yibum is because of all kinds of virayas, the sister, the wife's sister, and it could be the daughter, and it could be the mother-in-law, all kinds of virayas. But to find that it's a Eishasach, that the Isser is because she's a brother's wife, that's not usual. Here's a case, an Eishasach. It's even a bit more. It's even that the Nefila of the Yibum is what is making her Rasa. Why is he not allowed to marry her? Because she's falling from two brothers. That's what makes it Rasa. So he says, very unique. You don't find such a thing. And the Gemara is going to ask, why don't you find such a thing? If you say that in this case, he knew that she's an islandess, and she's why is she asked her to marry? Why is he not allowed to marry her?
You gotta make children.
So what?
And therefore there's no Yibam to make him a Yabema, or it wouldn't bring children.
So it remains that it's a Eishasach Shalom B'Makom Mitzvah. It remains that it's a brother, so that Nefila L'Yibum is what is making a Rasa. And the more is asking, if you're saying that this, and the Sarah is also Rasa, if you say that, so then how come it says this is the only case? He said over here, this is the only case you find that the Yibum, the Nefila Yibum is what the brother, being the brother's wife, is what makes her Asa. Usually, a brother's wife is what's mutter. That's what Yibum is, a brother's wife. Here you find the case where a brother's wife is what's making her Asa. Why? Because there's no mitzvah of Yibum. But he says,
isn't Elinis another case?
that's the Mor's Kasha. If you say that this is Asa, so there's another case that he's not, that the brother's wife is what the erva is. That's the Mor's Kasha. The fact that both cases seem similar.
It's by Mama also.
By Mama, it says that this is the only case. Why is it the only case? You have Islanders also. That must be that Islanders is mutter. That's what the Morah wants to prove, that Islanders is mutter for some reason. I'm David? Good? That's her also. If she's mutter ended Lachora. You're right. Let me see. You're right. We'll see the Gemara in a second. So that's the Morah's Kasha. We said on this case about Zika Shnei Yevamos, Rav Yosef said this is the only case. Going Zeus. We don't find anything like that. When he says this is the only case, what is he coming to exclude? Isn't he coming to say that a Sarah silence is mutter? You're right, the Sarah silence is mutter. And we don't know the difference yet. We'll get to it. The Gemara says, Lo, the mutter Sarah silence is the Asira. He's coming to say this is the only case. This is Taka unique. Why? The Gemara is going to say, you're right, both of them are Asir. But one of them is so Asir that there's no even chalitza. This case where we said, Sika Shnei Yevamos, we're going to say that it's only a Yisad Rabbanan, and therefore he does have to give a chalitza. It doesn't pater her completely. This woman who has two brothers that she's coming from, two connections, it's only Yisad Rabbanan. It's not really the right, even though the more about a pasuk, it's only an asmachta. It's not a real drasha, and there is no such Yisad Daraisa. And
Mine was on the Rabbanan.
You could say that also, but this is of having two zikas is surely only Rabbanan. And therefore, they do have to do chalitza. In order to you have to free her because with the Raisa she is connected. She does need yibum. So over there you don't do yibum, but you do the chalitza. But this case of the islandess is mamash the Raisa, that she's a real echesach without a mitzvah, and therefore there's no chalitza, right? Zui then if is my Zui then if it's in the fila gomlot, so therefore it's a rasa by chalitza. This where it's the case of yibum, the brother's wife causing that she cannot do yibum, but she does need chalitza. But islandess, I feel chalitza labaya. Chalitza, you don't even need chalitza because there's no connection at all. My timer, the Raisa Drabanan, the issue of Zika Shnei Yevamos is only Yisad Drabanan. So therefore you have to free her and give her chalitza. But this case of the islandess that there's no yibum with the Raisa, so she doesn't need chalitza, and the Sarah also doesn't need chalitza. The Mar Zakasha from our Mishnah. Tanan. Vekulan emesu amianu on his gashu or shenimsu islandess. So we're saying Torah. It says in our Mishnah, if you have all of the arayas, let's just kind of put on the diagram. This makes it a bit easier. It says, what if she would have been an erva? This woman would have been an erva. So the Mishnah, this would be related.
Okay.
So it says that the tzara doesn't do yibum, but it says if she was found to be an islandess, so then the tzara does do yibum.
She's out of the picture. The islandess is not there.
This was really what was Moshe mentioned this in the beginning, and he said the difference between if it was known to the brother or not when he married her, and that's what the Gemara is going to answer. The Mishnah is talking about that he did not know about it. So when he finds out that she's an islandess, then the marriage is off retroactively. That was a marriage, and therefore the tzara could marry because it's only one wife. But if he knew about it, so then she's in the picture, and there's no yibum, and it's really married. The marriage is a good marriage, and it's eishesach shelo b'makom mitzvah. And therefore, she's a tzara serva. That's what that was the most question, was answer. The man was like everybody said. Tanan, 3 lines up. That's what we want. So I'm saying Butara. So it's against what you're saying. You're saying that the tzara islandess is us. So the Mishnah says first that's mutter. No, lo kasha. Kanchi ikiba. Kanchi lo ikiba. We're talking about that tzara islandess is us. He knew what she was when he got married to her. So it's a good marriage. The Mishnah is talking about that he didn't know when he got married. Lo ikiba. He didn't know that she was an islandess, and therefore the marriage is off the mafreya. They can be the word shenimsu means it was found. It means he didn't know about it. It was found out later. For Lokatani Shahayu, it doesn't say that she was an islandess. It says it was found to be an islandess. That means that when he got married, he didn't know, and the marriage is off the mafreya. Shvamina, good, nice, sounds nice. So far everything's good. Tzara islandess is asa, and Nimsu islandess is mutter because marriage wasn't a marriage at all. Amarava, now comes a big surprise, and Levi Yaakov comes on to the stage again. Tzara islandess muteres argues on Rava argues on Ravasi. Ravasi said that it's asa. And Rabbi says it's mutter. Even if he knew about it when he got married. Afilu Tzaras Bito Islandess, even if she's an Arab also, it's mutter. The Tzara is mutter. And the Gemara doesn't explain why. Even if she'd be an Arab. Get onto the screen again. That he says that the Yavam could marry the Tzara of the Islandess. And even if the Islandess happens to be his daughter.
Right.
Also, and it's a good marriage. Not that he didn't know, he knew about it. He married her, and still, so
it's like it's totally erased.
erased. Why is it erased? What's erased? He knew about it. We say erased when it was not a good marriage, but here it is a good marriage.
The brother's an avatar, so then
It should be also. Since he's again, if he's an Arab, yes.
right.
But the question is, but she's an islandess, and that's
Right.
so. Why is it not Eishes Ach Shalom B'Makom Mitzvah?
Because she could never have children.
So what?
Therefore, I'm thinking.
So the Gemara's point is, Rashi says, without the Rashi, I wouldn't know. The Gemara doesn't even bother telling us because till now we had cases of there's a reason to do Yibum because she's childbearing and everything is good, but there's a problem that she's a relative, Bito, Hamosa, all kinds of relatives that stop. But here, the fact that she's an islandess, she's not even in the parsha, she's not called falling to Yibum at all. So she doesn't fall to Yibum. She's not. She's
Even if he
married.
knew.
What?
Even if
You knew, and it's a good marriage, but she's not falling to Yibum. The Torah doesn't talk about such a woman because she can't have children. So she's not falling to Yibum at all. So not because she's not in the marriage, she is in the marriage, but she's not falling to Yibum
But why isn't
she's
why
in the
doesn't it
marriage
still
and not
perform the
falling.
category of Arab?
because she's not falling to
Oh, they're
Yibum.
not sisters.
Not sister, but it's a
They're
brother's
not
wife. It's a
sisters.
brother's wife, Shalom B'Makom Mitzvah, but she's not
But
falling to
she's not
Yibum
falling to
Why
Yibum.
not?
because she's not a childbearing. So she's not falling. The Torah doesn't talk about
She
her.
can be a good marriage and not fall to Yibum.
Right.
That's
And therefore, it's different. Till now, we had the good marriage of, let's say, a daughter. Let's say it's his daughter. So there we say, no, she's falling to Yibum, but the Arais is in the way, and therefore it's a Eishes Ach Shalom B'Makom Mitzvah, and the other one's also a Tzara Serva, but here don't say that. The fact that she's not childbearing, so she's not even the part, the Torah never spoke about her. She doesn't fall to Yibum at all. So therefore, even though there are two wives, only the Tzara falls to Yibum, falls to Erva. And that's what Rava says. He doesn't explain it, and Rashi doesn't. And Rashi has to explain it.
So then at the end, the father, or whatever, that guy up there can't marry someone.
He could again. What father? Not the father, the brother.
The brother.
The brother could. That's what he's saying. He could.
And the brother can marry someone.
Can marry. That's what he's arguing.
Because she was an islandess. So
Right. This is again. So Rabasi started off the sugya. He didn't hold to this. He said Sarah's island is asura
Right.
because she's like an erva because she's Eishes Ach without a mitzvah. But Rabbi says no. Sarah's island is muteres. And why is that? Rashi says because she's not in the parsha at all. Because they're different than an erva. Just to see Rashi, Techiyas Rachman at Sarah Seba b'makom mitzvah the asra. Even the islanders see the balav evanami lo chazil libum have it sarasa Seba shalom b'makom mitzvah.
So the brother, when he's the father of that girl, he's not the father of the girl, he can marry the child.
Right, that's what the Gemara says. I feel with Sarah's Bito Islanders. That's what the Gemara adds on. That even if she's also an Erva, but she's not in the parsha of an island and all
Right,
of Erva and all.
exactly. So either one.
But the Gemara's Akasha, the Mishnah only permits the one that's Nimtzu. Ve'elah Tani Nimtzu. And you say Mash only because it was not a good marriage. And he's saying even if it is a good marriage,
Right.
Tanisha Hayu, no, the Gemara's not. It's up say to change it. It's okay. That not only Nimtzu, and not only even if he knew before, it's also not. It's also there's no problem with the Yibum. He could do Yibum to the Tzara.
Okay, great.
Now the Gemara ends off. Kiyasa Rav and Amr Rav Yochanan. Now the Gemara goes back in the past three sugyas. We had a sugya about Machzik Rishatso. We had a sugya about Mama Enes. We had a sugya about Islanders. Three sugyas in a row. The Gemara there's 2, 3, then 1. But the Gemara says on all these three, Kiyasa Rav and Amr Rav Yochanan, Achas Soros Mama Enes, Achas Soros Islanders, Achas Soros Machzik Rishatso, Kulan Mutaros. So to talk about the one we just had, the last one, Soros Islanders. That's the middle one he talks about. Soros Islanders. Let's put it on the screen over here. Some nice color. He says, Tzaras Mema Enes and Tzaras Islanders, whatever, and a Tzaras Masik Rishasa. He says all of them are mutter. Our sugi was the middle sugi.
Because there's no Yibum.
So Tzaras Islanders, we just said the reason is because she's not in the parsha at all.
Yeah.
So Islanders, so therefore the Tzaras mutter because she's like as far as Yibum, she's the only one falling. Tzaras Mema Enes was the sugi before this. That was yesterday's sugya. And over there, more the question about the the svara that am I saying right? So no, Tzaras Mamanis.
Is Ma'anis the one where
That
he
was
did
the
Mamar?
that was the sugya today. That wasn't
Today.
yesterday's sugya. That was today's sugya.
Today where he did Mamar.
No. No. That's that came in the side. That was not
She
here.
refuses
Tzaras
the brother.
Mamanis.
She refuses the brother after her husband died. He wasn't.
Right, and the reason,
Yeah.
right, so we had to find that Shmuel said Tzaras Mamanis is also. Just to scroll back. The Gemara said that Shmuel said Tzaras Mamanis is also. That's how we started the day today. Amir of somebody by Lili, Rav Lili by Mamel. Tzaras Mamanis is Asura, and they came out. The reason why it's us is because the Gzeira of Tzaras Bita Mamanis. And he doesn't hold the Gzeira. Yochanan doesn't hold the Gzeira. He also holds Tzaras Bita Mamanis is also. He doesn't hold the Gzeira. So he says Tzaras Bita Mamanis, Tzaras Mamanis is mutter, and even though Tzaras Bita Mamanis is us, he doesn't make the Gzeira. And then the sugya before that was about Machzik Rushasa. That was yesterday's sugya. And over there, the Gemara said on the bottom, there was a svara, but we had a question. Machzik Rushasa Mishanisa Sarasa Mahu. That over there, the question was that there's a svara that also, like Yaakov said yesterday, that you can't be more mutter than the brother. The brother can't be more mutter than the dead brother. And if the dead brother was Machzik Rushasa, he wasn't allowed to marry her, so the tzara cannot be better than that. And here, the more had a question about it. Do you say that it goes even to the tzara also? And here the Gemara left it as a question, more or less. And here, and now the Gemara is saying, Yochanan said that it is mutter. Tzaras Machzik Rushasa was also mutter. Achas Tzaras Mamanis.
He wouldn't call it a kal v'chomer.
It's not enough to push away the tzara. It's enough to push away the wife, the grusha herself, but it's not enough to push away the tzara.
Oh, it pushes away the wife, but not the
Which
tzara.
that was the Gemara's question over there. The Gemara said, "Why not ask about the wife?" And the wife surely because kal v'chomer, but
that
the
kal
tzara,
v'chomer, yes, but not the tzara.
not for the tzara.
Ah.
End of the sugya. I made it 3 dots because it's mamish the end of the sugya, and now starts. Even though it's a little bit late, if it's okay, if we could do a little bit more.
Okay.
I have to ask the people that are on the screen over here who's coming on. Is it okay if we go a little further? Anybody on the Zoom that could take a vote?
Oh, Lisa, what's the story?
Shtika kaida, Dami.
Okay.
Listen,
If everyone's good with that, so we'll continue. If that's so good with everybody. Okay, back onto the Gemara. We come in left field, mamish left field.
Tani.
Tani Rav Weber, Kamei Rav Nachman. Rav Weber said over in front of Rav Nachman and Bryce, Shalosh, nothing to do with anything. Mamish left field. We'll figure out what we was going to say. What's happening? Shalosh nashim v'shamos b'moch. 3 women should have marital relations b'moch. B'moch means with a paired, and the point is that they shouldn't conceive. However they do that, whatever the point is, birth control. That it should be contra. How do you say it? Contraceptives. To make sure she doesn't become pregnant. 3 women should make sure they don't become pregnant. Ketana, Mubera, Sumunika. A young girl, if she's married. But she shouldn't have marital relations because she might become pregnant. And it's dangerous. We'll say in a second. Also, a pregnant woman should also, if she's pregnant already, she should make sure she doesn't become pregnant again, which is a freak thing, but it happens sometimes. Means the system is really made, Hashem made the system in general that once it's pregnant, she doesn't become pregnant again. But
Where did Katana move?
Ketana is 1, Muberis is 2, Munika is 3. A woman, a wife who is a Ketana still, if she has relations, she should always make sure she doesn't become pregnant. Muberis, if she's pregnant, she should make sure she doesn't become pregnant again within the pregnancy, second pregnancy. And Monika, if she's nursing, also to make sure she doesn't become pregnant, even though usually she doesn't. A nursing woman usually does not, but make sure she doesn't. Why? It's dangerous for a Ketana to become pregnant. She might become pregnant, she might die. So in order to make sure she lives, make sure she doesn't become pregnant. Maybe she'll become pregnant with a second fetus, and they might damage each other. And that's called sandal. One of the ubra might become a sandal. Sandal is a deformed, might become deformed. And Manika, if she's pregnant, yevamos. Maybe when she becomes pregnant, she's going to stop nursing, which is natural. That when she becomes pregnant, she stops nursing. And then the oldest, the son is born already, he's not going to have milk. And they didn't have maternity in those days. So it would be dangerous. So she'll wean her child, the wife, and he will die. He doesn't have milk. Okay, what's concerning us is the case of the Ketana. It says, Vezi Ketana, the Brisa continues, who's a Ketana that should make sure that she should not become pregnant? From age 11 until 12. Why is that? because younger than 11, she won't become pregnant. But less than 11 and older than 12 is no problem, because less than 11 is not dangerous. She's not going to become pregnant. And older than 12 is not dangerous to become pregnant. It's okay if she becomes pregnant. Let her have a child, fine. All this is different. Rav Meir. Rav Meir says that all these three women should not become pregnant. That all of them could have relations regularly. Hashem should have Rahmanis. Means you don't have to be choshes for such as usually doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that she becomes pregnant at these three stages. So therefore, Hashem guards the fools. So it's very. I think the point is here that it's a chashash rachok. It's not. It's a far chashash that will become pregnant, and also it's very hard to avoid it. It means they can't have They have to can't have relations. They have to use a mox all the time. It's very difficult. So therefore, they're allowed to. But anyway, we want Rav Meir. Rav Meir says how if she does become pregnant, is she going to live? Is a young girl less than between 11 and 12 that she could become pregnant? Is she definitely going to die if she becomes pregnant, or maybe? Since he says maybe she'll become pregnant and maybe she'll die, that sounds like two stages. That she might become pregnant, might not. And even if she becomes pregnant, she might live, she might die. But there's a chash that she might become pregnant and she might die. So the words are mashma that she could become pregnant without dying. It's possible. That's we brought in from left field. What does that have to do with it?
Kamar is already not the brisa, right?
Right. Adkan is the brisa. Then the Gemara infers from the brisa that since it says maybe she'll become pregnant, maybe she'll die, that means that there's two steps. She might become pregnant and not die. If that's possible, that's all the Gemara wanted to extract from this whole brisa. That it's possible for a young girl, 11 to 12, to become pregnant and not to die. Then the Gemara goes to our Mishnah. It's possible theoretically. It doesn't have to be usual, but it's possible theoretically that somebody's mother-in-law could still do miyun. She could still be a ktana.
Right.
We'll go on to this is going on to the Mishnah. We'll go on to the Mishnah again. Here we had the Mishnah. We had Zika Shnei Yevamos. Here's Chamosa Mamenes. Here we had a case in the Mishnah. The Mishnah had all kinds of variants. The Mishnah said, this is back to the Mishnah on the Daf Beis, and it said that there could be a relation to there's a brother who died, and he has a wife, two wives, and now one of the wives that he has is falling to his brother, and that's a relationship of erva. Here, one of the cases was chamoso. The Mishnah says chamoso. It has 15. It has 15 in the Mishnah. One of them was chamoso. Here we are. That there's
Who's he married to?
He's married to his brother's mother-in-law.
Oh, to her. He's married to her.
I can't see where you're pointing.
Who's the red?
The red is the brother, the live brother. There was the two brothers, and the one brother had a wife who had a mother, and his brother married Reuven married Shimon's mother-in-law. No, yes, sir. No such yes, sir. You're not to marry a brother's mother-in-law. So he did, and he had another wife also, and he died. And now for Yibum, we look around for the brother's survivor, another brother, and behold, it's his mother-in-law. Can't do Yibum to a mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah said in general about all the arayas that if there was a miyun, if we'll take the Gemara's shot before that, if before the brother died, his wife did miyun to him, so the marriage is off, and then the tzara could get married. Let's say it would have been a different era, whatever, Bito, whatever. This man's daughter, Reuven married Shimon's daughter, but she did miyun to him before he died. So then there's no problem for the yavam to marry the tzara because the girl who did miyun is out of the picture. And the Mishnah says that's true. That kulan and miyanu or nisgarshu b'chulu. So then the tzara could get married because the one who did miyun is out of the picture. But it says that not all of them could it possibly happen. Some of them can't be. And it says the mother-in-law is a case that it can't be that she did miyun before
you can.
What?
I thought you said you can. You can find a case of the mother-in-law doing.
The Gemara is asking kasha. The Mishnah says not. The Mishnah says that it cannot. The Mishnah says that it's not possible for the mother-in-law of Shimon to have done miyun to Reuven. Reuven married Shimon's mother-in-law. She's too old to do miyun. Miyun is only as long as she's a ketana, as long as she's a minor. But if she has a daughter already, if she's somebody's mother-in-law, that means that she's old enough to be a mother.
So she can't be a katana.
So she can't be a Ketana, because if she has children already, she must be pretty old. And I think more is asking Akasha that if you find that it's possible for a Ketana, 11-year-old, to have a child, so this woman might have been 11 years old, and she had a child, and she got married, this 1-year-old, whatever, a baby, but the father married her off. So now, and then the mother-in-law is still
Still a
Ketana. And why does the Mishnah say that is impossible? Of course, it's not usual these cases,
Oh, I see.
but theoretically it's possible. If you say that it's possible for a minor, a Ketana, to become pregnant and not to die, so here she is. This woman could be. So why does the Mishnah say it's impossible for her to have done miyan to her husband? That's the most kasha.
Okay. So what it says is it's saying Im kain matzino chamoso.
According to your fact that it's possible
That's
for a
not a
Ketana to
big miyan.
become pregnant and not to die, so
Yeah.
it's possible for a mother-in-law to be mamayin, even though she has a daughter,
Uh-huh.
and she got married,
Because
and
because
she's
a
married.
katana can have a baby without dying.
Without dying. The Mishnah says it's impossible. Why is it impossible? So the Gemara answers simply that even though before we said Shema Tisabra v'Shema Tamus, like the double stage, maybe she'll become pregnant and maybe she'll die, which is mashma. She could become pregnant without dying. Take out the word Shema Tisabra v'Tamus. Maybe she'll become pregnant and die, because there's no such thing as a Ketana becoming pregnant and not dying. Dam Rabba Bar Levi said that this is that's how it is. There's a boundary. There's a boundary of the ages. There's 11 and 12. Kodum Azman is before 11 years old. She doesn't become pregnant. No problem. She could have relations without any contraceptives because she's not going to become pregnant. Tochas Manazeh between 11 and 12. He mesa v'urba mes. She dies. It doesn't say maybe she's going to die. She dies. If she's going to become pregnant, she's going to die, and also the baby's going to die. After 12 years old, she could become pregnant and have a child, and she could live, and the baby could live. So that's it. We just changed the word, not Shema Tisabra v'Shema Tamus, Shema Tisabra v'Tamus. So the more is happy at this point. Yeah, but that's not relative to us. We just want to know. Yeah, you have the baby also. The baby also is married to somebody, right? Good. So that's the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara's test. The Gemara first had the girsa Shema Tisabra v'Shema Tamus, and that was the whole basing on the whole kasha that it's possible to be a Ketana and have a child. And the Gemara said no, it doesn't say that. The Gemara continues, but our time is very up already at us. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. We'll be back in 1 minute. We asked permission for those that were here. If we can go further, we'll be back in 1 minute together with what are we doing today?
So that's
Whatever everybody wants. What?
Okay.
Tillim or Pesach, whatever you want.
Pesach.
Pesach.
Till the choice Nissen.